up, everybody? It's your boy Heems. And guys, we are back with another reaction video. Today, guys, we get to check out the one and only Forspoken, the final preview. This game is only like a day or two before release, so let's get it. Before we go further, guys, if you like the videos you love, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to Cans Gaming. Share the video, share the channel. Raid, host, all. Appreciate it. Hey, anybody want to catch me stream? I stream Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, with starts between 6:15, 6:30, and last 7 p.m. Weekends are open scheduled, so in YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Trovo, and live. I stream on all 5 platforms at the exact same time. Reaction videos are as early as 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. with videos at a time, 5 or 6, give or take, depending on the link. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Snapchat for updates. Without further ado, let's check this video out.
Okay, that is something I do now. I do magic, talk to sentient cuffs, kill jacked up beasts. You know what? I'll probably fly next.
Across my roughly 3 hours of time spent hands-on with Forspoken, I arrived in a fantastical new world, battled a dragon, and took part in a prison break. This all sounds like it should be very exciting, but in truth, so far Forspoken feels like a game getting in its own way. The latest action RPG from Square Enix definitely does display some potential, thanks to a promising combat system that could become excitingly nuanced over time, but its opening sections sadly often feel uninspired.
Oh. See where they go.
I was able to play through chapters 2, 3 and 5, which allowed me to gain a pretty good grasp of Forspoken's rhythm. The open world of Athia is littered with things to do, including side missions, dungeons and battles aplenty. Its variety of activities is not going to come as too much of a shock to those who have played a game in the genre. Encouragingly, some of those fights can be a real challenge, and I definitely encountered some fascinating foes that I was simply far too underleveled to take on despite my best efforts. Regardless of my defeat at the hands of more daunting foes, combat is where Forspoken is at its most engaging. Its quick nature and the way it always keeps you on your toes as you juggle its many magical abilities harbours genuine tactical promise. There are over 100 spells to wield in Forspoken, many of which appear genuinely exciting in gameplay trailers, but you're limited to an unexceptional select few in those first chapters. This can lead to early stretches feeling a bit one-note as you hold the trigger to fire chunks of rocks at enemies while occasionally dodging an attack. Once new unlocks start presenting themselves, however, it all becomes a whole bunch more interesting. I had fun mixing these standard spells with much more interesting support skills, such as conjuring roots from the ground to tie down enemies, and summoning a little plant turret friend to help out in sticky situations. All of these abilities belong to the Earth-based magic skill tree, one of 4 different elemental types you'll acquire over the course of the adventure. I do fear that being restricted to these fairly basic abilities for so much of the start of Forspoken isn't the best way to introduce its combat systems. While I've so far been unable to use them, I've seen glimpses of extensive skill trees, filled with bigger and better abilities that tease evolving and exciting gameplay. It's a battle system that does show genuine promise, and it left me with reasons to be excited about the possibilities of juggling different magic types and the effects combining spells can have on enemies. I like the slowdown time in between your shuffling between magic abilities. And with greater speed, because in truth, there was sadly little else about Forspoken that held my attention.
Junoon is part of Athia.
I get it. Like New York City versus New York State.
Exactly. I think.
The story is the age-old Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz tale of a stranger being transported to a magical land and, presumably, leaving as their saviour. Protagonist Frey Holland is an abrasive character who doesn't have much time for anyone or the fish-out-of-water scenario she finds herself in. I have seen hints at her softening though, which hopefully points in the direction of an endearing character arc. She's capably portrayed by Ella Balinska, despite being saddled with a rather flaky script of which every other word appears to be f***.
Oh. This cannot be f***ing real. A dragon? What the f*** was that? Hey, the
okay, with her shoes, let me stop. What are those? Oh.
Seriously, I must have heard it over 100 times in my few hours, and whilst I'm no prude, it doesn't lend itself to creating a subtle or nuanced protagonist.
You say another f***ing word.
More painful were the conversations between Frey and her anthropomorphic bracelet companion, Cuff. While walking around with a charming Paul Bettany sound-alike on your wrist could easily be a pleasant experience, in Forspoken it comes across as less Jarvis and more jarring.
Can we just not talk?
Fine. Fine by me. Suit yourself. I'd love a bit of silence.
Further off-putting are the
still
visuals
talking.
of Forspoken, which certainly doesn't display the sort of graphical firepower you'd expect from a new-gen showcase, despite being on PS5 and PC exclusively.
Wow.
It just all feels quite barren and lifeless. An atmosphere especially highlighted in the city I spent a good chunk of my playtime in. A grey, anemic series of streets full of nondescript townfolk. It's also the location where I witnessed Forspoken commit its biggest crime so far. A frankly abysmal breed of auto-fail stealth mission that deserved to die with the PlayStation 2.
You are safe now. Thanks.
Once I made it through that particular nadir, however, Forspoken did continue to show more promise. Chapter 5 takes place in a wholly more interesting area of Athia, a red fiery land painted using similar brushstrokes to Elden Ring's Caelid. A vertically varied landscape with danger hiding at every layer, it's a place where my combat skills were fully tested alongside my magical parkour abilities. When it all clicks, darting across chasms and flipping over enemies can be a real delight. But for a game that places so much emphasis on these slick movement options, it can be frustratingly unreadable at times. Like so much of Forspoken, it feels like real fun is there to be had when it hits its stride, but it just trips itself up far too often in these early chapters. The final part of my hands-on was a big boss battle, which was easily among the highlights of my playthrough. Consisting of 2 difficult but varied phases, it constantly made me think on my feet and juggle all of my cooldowns and spells that I'd learned up until that point.
Yeah, I
the
like
first
the
section was an
slow-motion
exciting
time.
fight against one powerful enemy and a group
Because
of
without that slow motion and being able to transition, there is no way that you could sit here and juggle in between these magics and while you're being chased. Because it seems like all the enemies thus far, like they're fast paced, like they don't give you a chance to breathe. Because even as she was pivoting and you saw like a projectile just, it's like, damn, she didn't even have time to like rest or flip around.
soldiers that displayed genuinely smart battle design. I focused most of my firepower on the boss, saving my super useful tendril attack for the weaker enemies, which whipped vines around in a large area of effect and restored my health with every connection it made. This sort of clever encounter left me encouraged that Forspoken could throw up some inspired boss designs further down the road that will combine spectacle with challenge. While phase 2 of the fight did display some of that spectacle, I found it far less entertaining, and even bordering on annoying, as I was channeled into a narrow arena and asked to repeatedly avoid some pretty unreadable attacks. It also fell foul of one of Forspoken's visual calling cards, where the world's colour is drenched by a blue filter. It's meant as a representation for the Break, the evil force that plagues this fantasy world, but just doesn't look very nice, and removes any sort of distinct identity away from a certain area. It also means
Or
you're
enemy
missing
for that
out on some
matter.
of the impressive creature designs.
Yeah, I was about to
a
say that
massive
with the
dragon I
enemies, it
met
doesn't
early
look
on
that
more
good.
often than not appeared to me as a giant winged silhouette.
That's not a good thing, is it?
Probably not.
I'm fairly convinced that there definitely is enjoyment to be found in Forspoken, but its early chapters don't seem like the place to consistently find it. The magical combat promises to develop and become more and more interesting over time, but whether that will be enough to overcome an uninspired script and the world it aims to bring alive remains to be seen. When we have so many open world action RPGs at our fingertips these days, Forspoken really needs to set itself apart. Despite leaving a less than impressive first impression, I am hopeful, if not confident, that it can. For more on Forspoken, check out this gameplay or the latest trailer.
So guys, round. I just get that from shouts out to OG Silverback. That's kind of fun. But guys, what do you guys think honestly of the trailer, the gameplay? I'm still psyched up to see for it. I think my biggest dilemma, and that's just for me as a content creator, as a streamer, I just want to know, and maybe you guys can answer that too. I would really appreciate your guys' comment, honestly. I actually put up a voting poll to actually see between Dead Space and Forspoken, and both are coming out within the same week. Majority of you guys voted for us to get both. I guess what I wanted to see too, because like this is like a heavily RPG invested kind of a game, especially like with level ups. Like you can't just go through and like hack and slash or anything. It could take some time to get through it. But that being said, would you guys be interested in seeing this in the long haul? Would you like to just see it for just like one playthrough or a couple of playthroughs in between? Let me know in the comments. I really do appreciate your guys' feedback. And let me know if you pretty much agree with everything that he's saying, or do you feel like it still has room to grow? I still feel like the game has rooms to grow, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be the blind man and not see where some of the issues may or may come through. Because it seems like it may be like kind of a bit of a dry start just to kind of warm up to the character, starting out with like just a few magics. Now, I could see for myself how I could try to manipulate that and use that. You're basically gonna have to like pretty much like trap and stagger majority of your enemies, and then try to either deliver as much little damage as you can, even like chipping away if you have to with the rock throw and rock smash. You know, we got to even get the sandstorm, you know, landslide and all that stuff. I'm talking Pokemon. But anyway, you know, I think it's still room around it to still be able to enjoy it. But all in all, guys, I still think it's worth getting. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys say yay or nay, and definitely drop suggestions below on the next reaction video, whether it's 1 or 2 or 1,000. The more suggestions you guys drop, the more content we could put out to anybody that I've overlooked, missed, and either just haven't had the time to get back to, or I actually lost most of the or some of the screenshots. Please let me know and give me a gentle reminder, and I will make your video the next priority. But to everybody, it's your boy Heems Cats Gaming signing out. I'll see you guys soon. More everybody out there. Peace. Till next video.